Welcome to the London Outlook for Wednesday, the 13th of December 2023. Starting off with the economic calendar, we've got some GDP news for the British pound. Given that we don't trade before Frankfurt Open, this is fine, and we will wait for the news release and then fade it accordingly. GDP news is quite significant, so you generally don't want to have open trades prior, and you'll trade simply once the news is actually released. If the news is positive, we'll long GBPUSD, and if it's negative, we'll short GBPUSD for the London session. Then going on to the New York session, there's a whole bunch of significant news. I think PPI is quite important. However, it shouldn't negate any open trades, and once the news is released, we'll manage open positions accordingly, or keep them open, or take new trades for that matter. However, at the end of the London cross, you certainly want to close all of your trading positions, just because there's quite a lot of high impact news that's coming out towards the end of the session, and you generally don't want to trade these. So that's a quick look at the economic calendar. I'll quickly jump into the charts, starting on the 4-hour. In terms of market structure, nothing's changed. We're still heavily bullish, with the idea to target this 4H ERL right there. Like I said in my previous outlooks, we were in this pullback phase. The pullback phase has essentially achieved its target right here, and we have this one last barrier to overcome to invalidate the pullback phase completely. At the moment, we've currently wicked this pullback phase OB, which has subsequently validated the primary leg creation on the 4H. As a result of the primary leg creation on the 4H, we have created this pro-trend primary leg, from which we can validate secondary leg OBs from within this area without requiring specific unmitigated M15, M5, or even M30 levels. We are able to both long and short. However, we have to be cognizant of the fact that this is a secondary leg, and we likely took out all the IRL. In terms of finding more IRL to target, we'd have to then wick this level to reset the secondary leg on the 15 and 5 minute for the pullback phase, to then validate additional IRL within here. If we look quickly on the 15 minute, just to drive that point home, what you can see is we wicked the level and we came down and we took out all the IRL within the secondary leg. Thus, there's no longer any IRL to target to the downside. Remember, the pullback phase has achieved its target, and thus, in order to actually short, you need to validate IRL and have an order flow validation to actually conclude that supply remains in control. For that purposes, I don't foresee any shorts being relevant, at least not for the time being, which would mean the focus purely for today would be on longs, and that focus would change purely dependent on whether we reset the secondary leg pullback phase OB or not. But I'm fairly confident in taking longs, although what can change the narrative is the news release, and these news releases do have the potential to actually break this void swing structure. We'll have to monitor it and trade accordingly. Just quickly on the 30 minute, if we can just see here, we had the 30-minute change of character. However, we hadn't had a break of structure. What you can see is that these are wicks. There's no body breaks, and thus I'm not confident in believing that demand is actually in control on the 30 minute. If it were in control, it would give us an area to consider where the low of the day would form. However, that isn't the case. From a 15-minute perspective, like I said, shorts are off the cards. We'll relook or reassess at the pullback phase secondary leg at its reset points, which would be the extremes of this and this. I guess while I'm at it, I should mark the previous high of the day and the previous low of the day, like such. And then what I did want to highlight is, while we do have this 15-minute change of characters, we don't have evidence that demand is holding just yet, and that same logic is applicable on the 5 minute. As you can see, you've got your change of character, however you're still missing your break of structure, and for that reason we're not yet ready to long. We will be ready to long, dependent on whether we break this area or we reset the secondary leg by coming deeper into this protrend primary leg, or ultimately coming even deeper than that into the actual protrend extreme. Well, what I mean is at least deeper into that to create a new primary leg, or in the case of just coming lower than the secondary leg, resetting the secondary leg and beginning a new leg. For now I've got alerts at this low and at the break of structure. Once we have the break of structure, then we pretty much have a green light to actually just beginning longs. Yeah, I think that's the conclusion. I did touch on the 5 minute and I said it is a similar situation. So essentially that's the conclusion for the London outlook. The key points being wait for the news, fade it accordingly, and we waiting for demand control validation, which will happen at this point. Subsequent to that, we can align our fibs with either the current day low of the day or the previous day low of the day, whichever makes more sense, and then trading accordingly.